Or good evening, not good night. Good night is when I'm leaving, right? Hey. So I'm going to go and confess right now, English is only my fourth language, so sometimes I'll trip up on words, use the wrong one, all of that. Put it back in order. Don't embarrass me. Just hanging with me there, you know. So first off, thank you so much for having me. It really is an honor to be here. I did not know about ILAD until Howard told me about it, and I'm so glad he did. And by the time I'm done with my talk, you'll understand why it matters. What you do here matters so much, and why your support for ILAD matters so much. So perhaps all I'll do is just share with you my story. You see, I was born in Senegal, the west coast of Africa, not too far away from Togo. And, Latte and I, we were laughing because at the end of the day, us Africans, no matter where we are from within the continent, we're all brothers and sisters. And I really love that. And that's something that also I think, those of, I'm sure all of you understand that. So, my brother, it's been a pleasure to be with you in person tonight. Anyway, so I was born in Senegal, the west coast of Africa. And how many of you here have children around 2 or maybe little ones like that you love so much, whether they're your kids or your grandkids, and you're just like, you could not imagine your life without seeing them often? How many of you have those little ones in your lives? Blessed yours. Well, I was born in Senegal, and right around age 2, my parents looked at me and they realized that the best thing they could do for me was to actually leave me behind. They said, the best way we can give you a good life is we're going to have to leave you with your grandmother while we migrate away in search for a better life. And my parents left. And some 5 years later, when the immigration, as it turns out, the immigration journey had worked for them, they came back. They called for me to be reunited with them in Germany. That's where we were back then. Well, what did it mean? It meant that I had to leave my beloved grandma behind. She's the only person I knew, the only caretaker I knew. I don't know my parents. I don't remember them. And here you're telling me I'm going to have to leave this woman behind? What, really? And, at the end of the day, everything that I do, I can honestly say that I do because of my grandma, because of what I did not have with her. This woman passed away behind my back, literally, and I could not even be there for the funeral. This is how us immigrants live. People get married behind your back. People have children behind your back. People die behind your back. And you can't be part of that. The only way you're part of these people's life is you make money where you are and you send it back home to them so they can have a life that you could not have. So that was it. So I leave my grandma behind, terrified. This was the first time I took a plane. I don't even remember the plane ride. I don't. All I remember was the pain of not being with her and just the distress. And I arrived in Germany and it was in the middle of the winter, and I look around and I'm thinking to myself, how come these people have this and we don't? And back then, really, all I was talking about was, how come back at home when grandma says, Magatte, it's time for your shower. And I'm like, yes, grandma. And I knew I would have a good 45 minutes to an hour to go play some more. Not just because I was a procrastinator and hated bath time, but it's because I knew that my grandma would have to get a stove of coal going, put a pot of water on it, wait for it to boil. Then we put that water into a bigger bucket, mix it with cold water so it's safer skin temperature for me. And then somebody stronger than my grandma would drag this thing to the shower area. And there at last, some 45 minutes to an hour later, I could finally proceed to take my shower, taking from a small little plastic pot back and forth to my body from a big vessel. That's what having my shower was. And here in Germany, mom says, Magatte, it's time for your shower. And I'm thinking to myself, where is the bucket of warm water? I am not getting butt naked in this weather, lady. Where is it? And so my grandma said, oh, come on, you silly, just jump in the shower. And there I jump in the shower stall, turn the knobs around, turns out the water, I can control the temperature, I can control the pressure. And I'm thinking to myself at this time, All right, people, who is playing this trick on me now? This can't be real. I mean, put yourself in my shoes. I lived in this home but didn't have running water, let alone hot water. And here you're telling me all you have to do is turn the thing on? No, this can't be real. And it was the same thing about everything. These grocery stores that had more types of breads and apples than my little brain could count. The paved roads, the AC, the heat, depending on what temperature is outside. And I'm just thinking, wow, how come they have this and we don't? And eventually, and I really needed to know. That question became the defining question of my life. I needed to know. Because this discrepancy in what I could only call the ease of living, and it was too big. So what explains this? And so every conversation I could be part of, every magazine I could read, movie I watch, conversation I hear, anything, I am looking, I am checking for the answer to that question. And eventually that question became, how come some countries like mine are poor and so many others in Africa are poor, while others, US, New Zealand, Australia, are rich? What's going on here? I've heard it all. Starting with, oh, darling, it's not your fault. It's just that, blacks and browns are simply not as smart as whites, and it shows in the fate, in the way their countries look like. Very, very serious people that I could not even call ignorant, believe this stuff. This IQ map of the world, oftentimes when I post or talk about these issues, it's like, lady, what do you expect? Did you see this map? But we don't fight back on that. We don't. Best way to fight on things oftentimes is to do. So others say, oh, malnutrition. And some say, oh, it's just education. You just need more education. And I'm like, have you gone to sub-Saharan Africa and asked some of these people that are street sellers, literally selling you stuff in between cars? Go ask them and come back and tell me how many of them don't have a degree. As a matter of fact, Michael here, my husband, we have a virtual school, and many of our tutors, math tutors, who have BS in math, Michael, some of them I think have masters in math, before we hired them out of Eswatini, do you know what they were doing? They were growing chickens and selling eggs. Math, BS in math, masters in math. People like that in New York, working for hedge funds, make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. And here they are, raising chickens. Nothing wrong with raising chicken, but I think you know what I mean. So you go tell these people, just get one more degree. And you'll be lucky if they don't slap you out of there. So, and others, oh, you guys, you Africans, you're just so lazy. You're always fighting each other. So the way I look at it, you have two camps. The camp that wants to believe that Africa is the poorest region in the world because of external reasons. Slavery, racism, colonialism, stealing of natural resources, you name it. And another camp who believes that there is something inherently wrong with Africans, starting with a low IQ, to being lazy, to being crazy people who are always fighting each other. I gave a talk once in UC Berkeley. I give talks there many times. But on this one occasion, I had this lady, and she basically, with a straight face, was telling me, maybe Africa should never had been free because left to their own devices, all they do is whack each other. And the rest of the audience is just like shocked. And I said, let her talk. She spoke, and by the end of the evening, she felt terrible. Not because I told her to shut up, but because we had a conversation. At least she was being honest with where she came from and what she was believing. And believe it or not, I could understand exactly what she was talking about. So I've heard all of this stuff, right? But then none of this makes sense to me because let's take colonialism, for example. Tomorrow, do the exercise for me. Go out and ask the first 100 people you meet, whether they're Africans or not, and ask them, why is Africa the poorest region in the world? And most of the time, the answer you'll hear is going to be colonialism is a reason why. But then I look at them and I say, well, then you explain to me why Ethiopia, which has never been colonized, for the longest time has been the poster child for poverty in Africa. As a matter of fact, I grew up with jokes like, oh, what's a chubby Ethiopian? Well, I guess it's an Ethiopian showing off. Conversely, Botswana has been colonized, and for the longest time, Botswana has been one of the top performers in Africa. So I'm not buying this reason that we're poor today because of colonialism that happened that ended some 60 plus some years ago. And then the same thing, people who say the IQ. If you said we're so incapable, if you said we're so lost cause, how come the same person that you deem to be, unworthy, the minute they cross over to a rich nation, all of a sudden they can self-actualize, not as a welfare recipient, but as a doctor, as an entrepreneur, as a mid-level manager, as a top-level manager? How come? You said this person was incapable, but it's the same person. So what's going on here? And so I'm thinking to myself, the only variable in this equation is not the person, but it's the place in which these people happen to be in. So now I'm thinking to myself, what is it about these places where people get to self-actualize or not? So I forgot that tonight I only had 20 minutes, and I'm already at 15 minutes, right? So now, guys, I'm gonna race. I speak fast, but brace on. So we established that. Eventually, I'll give you just bullet points of what happens next. Eventually, after France, the family decides to move. After Germany, family decided to move to France, and eventually, after France and getting my business and getting out of business school in France, I decided that France is going to be too small for my ambitions. So I moved to the United States of America because Hollywood told me that in America I could accomplish my American dream. So I came to America with big dreams, stars in my eyes. And I knew it was going to happen. And God, our good Lord, made it happen. I lived my American dreams in America. It started as a headhunter in finance for companies like Google and Netflix before anyone could tell where these guys were getting. Netflix was a tiny office in the middle of South San Jose, in the middle of nowhere, South San Jose. But here we are today. So in any case, what happened during those times is I was doing extremely well for myself, but one day I had an existential crisis. What happened was I was no longer able to reconcile the life of abundance that I was afforded with the life of scarcity that I had left home. And somewhere on that road, on Highway 1, I almost died. I died because I was driving, and I was driving while being overwhelmed by all of these stories of people packing themselves into little fishermen's boats in Senegal, trying to cross to Europe in search for a job. When they're not dying like that, it's a body dropping off of an airplane somewhere above England on their way to Europe to looking for a job. And when it's not happening on planes, it's happening because people take the land route. And when they take land route, they get stuck in Libya. In Libya, I get sold as a slave. My cost is between $300 and $500. I feel overwhelmed every time I have to think and be remembered of these stories. And that day, that's what happened to me again. Sometimes it happened in very violent manners, and that day it happened like that. I almost lost control of my car and almost died. Got out of a car as soon as I could, dropped to my knees, literally, because there was nothing left in me. And my first intuition was to surrender to God and surrender right now. And right there and there, I said, God, from here on, every single breath I'm going to take, I want to put it towards the betterment of Africa. I don't know what to do. You're going to have to help me. But I don't know what to do. So eventually from there, God started to provide. I think he heard me. I went back home. And one thing leading to another, I realized that my beloved Hibiscus drink was basically replaced because people in Africa thought that if you're anybody, you have to show your anybodyness by drinking Western soda pop brands. And so I was so upset by that. And eventually I knew that the only way to solve this would be to create a company myself and bring this beverage back home, back to people, and in doing so, putting women back to work. And by the time the UNDP did a case study on us, we had put back 9,000 women to work. This brings me back to the story of Latte, because Latte in his native Togo, same thing. he's thinking to himself, we need to create jobs, because without jobs, these people are leaving. Our people have to leave. They have to be separated from their grandmothers like me. They have to die at sea. They have to be sold as slaves. What do we do? So Latte knows. Build businesses, hire people. So in 2007, he had this great idea of, we are gonna do just that. And where he was even smarter was saying, okay, look at all these people, they're growing crops like cotton, which only brings you around $1,000 a year per farmer, and some of them growing, corn, bringing in $1,400 per year. And he's thinking to himself, I think the pineapple would be so much better and is so much more adaptable for this climate where, pineapple can survive up to 5 months of drought. So much better adapted for the area. And pineapple brings up to $14,000 a year. Compare that to the $1,000 to $1,400 that these people were growing. So he had that first great instinct. And then in 2007, they started with 25 people. And by now, they have 1,700 people. And he didn't stop there. He said, I am also bothered by the fact that a lot of these young, these people, our workers, their daughters, are not, pursuing a path of independence, economic independence. They're basically getting married too early, too soon. Why? Because of lack of education. So Latte there too is like, okay, we're going to corner that side as well. So we're going to start education. So they created middle school and then the high school to be able to follow these people. And next they're creating a college. So this is what we need, talking about local problems to local solutions to local problems, I told you. But it's exactly what he did. So in doing that, Latte totally met us there. So what I'm trying to say here is, so many people, when they think about what is the solution to poverty, they think poverty alleviation. That's the wrong answer. The solution to poverty is prosperity. Who builds prosperity? Entrepreneurs. What do they need? An enabling business environment. Latte is working on entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur himself and making sure that many more have that opportunity. And where you guys here come into that picture is that you are supporting, places like ILAD that then in return support Latte and the type of work he does. I, as an African, would like to argue this is the only type of support that I would like to see from the global scene, not aid. Aid for aid's sake is not going to get us there. So for the longest time, what you guys have been doing at ILAD has actually been totally overlooked. Most people are just, giving people a fish. That's it. And then they say, oh man, maybe we teach them how to fish. That's not enough. When the person knows even how to fish, you have to invest in them so that they can create boats. Some of them can create shops where we sell the fish. Others can create manufacturing companies where we manufacture boats and all of that stuff. That's how we build an economy. So what I love about you all, supporters of ILAD, is that you have your heads on the right, screwed on right. When Howard was talking about it, having a heart for the poor, that's easy. Having a mind for the poor, that's the challenge. And that's the challenge that you've been taking care of. And very few people have been on that track. So, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to you, because you've been doing actually exactly the right thing that needed to happen. It was not the popular thing to do. You were swimming against the current, but you have been showing the way. So I need many, many, many more of you, and they didn't ask me to say any of that stuff, but when I see people doing the right thing, I would like for you, A, to know about it, and B, encourage you. Because you're on the right track. This is what we want. We don't want people looking at us and thinking that the best we can do is be the recipient of your pity. I don't need your pity. We all have been created in the image of God. We're all equal. The only difference that exists here is that I don't get to play by the same rules as you get to play with. You are lucky to be in the United States of this great America. When you inherit such great systems that we don't have, and some of us are working on it. That's a whole other side of my life, but we're not going to talk about tonight because I'm sure I'm already way beyond talk. But in any case, I hope you hear it. I hope you hear in my voice the love and the appreciation that I have for you, and I don't know you, but the work you've been doing and what you've been supporting tells me everything I need to know about you. And at the end of the day, you people are our people. Okay? So I want to encourage you, whatever it is that you're doing right now, to keep doing it and do more if you can. This is the way. This is the way, and I would argue this is the only way. And I want to tell you guys tonight, you guys didn't know that. I don't know who here knows about Tuttle twins. It's this great cartoon. It's all about raising hands, all about teaching kids about free markets and entrepreneurship and all of that stuff. It have millions of viewers, very popular show, and I got to have my own episode. It's coming up very soon, and of course the whole episode is about how to support people in Africa, something like that, the right way, like we talked about tonight. And then they said, as we agree, criticize by creating, they said, Magatte, give us your top 10 places that people can then, scan this QR code so they can give to. I gave them 7 names and links. And ILAD is one of them. So hopefully you get to see a lot of money coming your way. But with that, most seriously tonight though, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank people that I did not know of before. But I'm so happy and blessed to know that you exist. And I want to thank you on behalf of me, of Latte, of all of us proud Africans who love when we meet other souls who tell us, you are my equal. I just realized that all you need is the same ramp that I got to have. So thank you guys, because you didn't have to do this, and you were swimming against the current. So I'm gonna get out of the stage before I go too much more emotional than that, but I hope you feel my love and my heart for you. Thank you.